Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told I had a voice radio, so today I'm bringing you, lovely ladies and gentlemen, a deck list. Now, it's been a little while since I brought you a deck list. It's been a little while since I had a list that I really wanted to share, but now I do. It is Shea Burton's Garchomp list. Now, in my very previous video, I showed you how this deck works. I showed you about Garchomp and what it does and why it's good. In this video, we're looking at the specific list. This is a good list. This did see some moderate success at a recent tournament. There is one change I would make, and I will tell you that at the end of the video. Keep you watching. But overall, I think this is an exceptional list. Now, I said in my Garchomp video that I am a fan of simplicity with of consistency in this Garchomp list, and I think this particular list does it very nicely. So starting off, we've got 4 Gibble. Nice and simply, we're playing Garchomp. We need 4 Gibble to evolve into Garchomp. And of course, we're playing 4 Garchomp. Now, Garchomp's got 2 really good attacks. Turbo Assault does 60 damage and attaches an energy card from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon. And that is any energy, not just fighting. So in this particular build, we can use it for strong. And I cost myself at least getting to the final, if not winning a tournament, with Garchomp, because I forgot that I could attach to myself. And if I remember, I'll put the link in the description to this video. If you watch that video, you'll see that I would have won had I attached it to Garchomp. I am a silly, silly boy. So do remember that as you're playing. But the real main event here is Bite Off. 80 damage or 162 in EX. You pop a strong energy and now you're doing 180, and you are one-hit KOing most EX Pokemon. This I can get on board with. Now, if you want to go into detail about how the deck works, etc., as I've said, I've done my previous video. But we play 4 Gibble and 4 Garchomp, and the aim here is very simple. We want to be using Turbo Assault where we can afford to, because you get to accelerate energy. It's got a really nice second effect. It's clearly the better attack to use. But in reality, it's Bite Off we're going to be using more often than not. It's the big attack, the one that's going to get us all of the prizes, especially against EX Pokemon. Now, we're playing 1 Gabite. Now, I would quite like a second Gabite, if I'm perfectly honest, but we need, we can only find room here for 1. Now, you don't need Gabite anymore. You need Gabite, as in you've got to have it where people are playing Trainer Lock. Well, Trevenant isn't being played much anymore. Seismitoad has been rotated. The Trevenant has been rotated, I should have said. And although Vileplume is in the format, it's seeing a lot less play. If people are playing Trainer Lock, you've got to play lots of the Stage 1, so you can manually evolve basic Stage 1, Stage 2. If, however, we are in a position like we are now with very little Trainer Lock, you can get away without playing the Stage 1s at all. Why do we play the Gabite? Because of the attack Sand Tomb. It stops your opponent retreating. You can keep them in the active to buy yourself a turn, or maybe even take a cheeky prize or two by stranding something like a Hooper in the active that can't retreat even with a Float Stone. If nothing else, you can use Gabite to force your opponent to burn energy, and this is fun. And the only other Pokemon in the deck are 4 Talonflame. Now, I said in the video where I talked about this, if you are going to be playing this deck, if you're going to be playing anything with Talonflame, play 4 or don't bother. You want to up the odds of starting Talonflame. Now, I got corrected in my previous video, and rightly so let me be clear about this. Assuming you only start 1 Pokemon, which most of the time you will, but sometimes you'll start 2. Assuming you only start 1 Pokemon, half the time you'll start with Gibble, half the time you'll start with Talonflame. In reality, it's slightly more than half the time you'll start with Talonflame, because sometimes you'll start with more than 1 basic Pokemon. Alright, got that out of the way? Good. You want to start with Talonflame. The ability allows you to play it as your starting active Pokemon. So, the reason we're playing 4 in this list is very simple. If we're playing 4, we got the most chance of starting with it. And it's got free retreat, so we can retreat into a Garchomp. An Aero Blitz allows us to search for 2 cards and put them into our hand. And we're going to 90% of the time be searching for Rare Candy and Garchomp. unless we've got one in hand, in which case we'll search for the other. But don't sleep on Aero Blitz as an attack. 40 damage is good. Add in Bursting Balloon, we do 100 damage, and let's say you against something like a Vespiquen, which would very easily one-hit KO Garchomp. Shay wanted me to point out that he did actually beat a Vespiquen Yanmega in the tournament, and he did it using Aero Blitz and Bursting Balloon to do 100 damage and get the KO. A fun little attack if ever there was one. We don't play any other Pokemon here because we're going pure consistency. We want to set up. No shaming for Shay here, which is weird given his name, because he doesn't want to start with shaming. He doesn't want to give up the 2 prizes. The energy is fairly safe for strong energy because strong energy is amazing. Even something like Enhanced Hammer won't scare you here because, of course, you can just use Garchomp to put the energy back on if it's discarded. 5 basic fighting would be my personal choice. Shay's gone for 6 here, little bit more consistency. The one change I would make to this deck, and please don't put this in the comments, this is for people who are actually watching the video, rather than just clicking on it to see the list and pausing it. I would go 5 fighting energy, and I would put an Eco Arm in instead. That would be my personal choice. I would cut a fighting energy for an Eco Arm here to reuse these bursting balloons. In terms of supporters, for Sycamore, now this can be awkward because you might end up losing your rare candy, and the rare candy you can't get back. Overall though, you need to set up, and a lot of the times, as I said in my previous video, when you set up you'll win. It's not ideal, but sometimes it has to be done. It's the best supporter card we've got. 3N, because it's the second best supporter card we've got, and you can only play 4 Sycamore. One thing I would consider doing, although I would have to test it a little bit more before I could say for certain, I would consider going 4N and 3 Sycamore, because Sycamore risks awkward discards, but it is a faster, more aggressive supporter that gets you what you want more often. 1 Lysander, because it's Lysander, you've got to play Lysander to draw stuff off the bench, get KOs, etc. Or even bring him in the active and strand them using Gabite Sandtomb. And 1 Twins, because you're playing a non-EX deck. You expect to have Gabites picked off. Or if you start with Talonflame, you expect your opponent to take down the Talonflame. Twins allows you to take advantage of your opponent getting cheeky KOs by searching for any 2 cards. And you've guessed it, a lot of the time those 2 cards are going to be Rare Candy and Garchomp. In any non-EX deck where you expect to have a whole bunch of KOs against you, 1 copy of Twins is absolutely superb. 4 Versus Seeker, because it's Versus Seeker, you play 4 in every deck. Unless you are trainer locking yourself, for instance Vileplume, you are playing 4 Versus Seeker in every deck. It's that simple. Now, as we've mentioned it a few times, let's quickly talk about Rare Candy. It allows you, as long as he's been down for a turn, to immediately evolve a Gabite into a Garchomp. So that's what you do. You play 4 Rare Candy because, as I keep saying, consistency. Another thing I really like about this list, and it goes to consistency again, 4 Ultra Ball, 3 Level Ball. Now, you've got to play the 4 Ultra Ball. It's got to be done. Now, Level Ball will get you both Gibble and Gabite, but it won't get you Garchomp here. And you can't search for the Talonflame. I suppose you can, but you can't play it down. So you're only searching for those 3 Pokemon. Ultra Ball gets you any of them. Level Ball only gets you Gibble and Gabite. We would love a 4th Level Ball. It's purely a spacing issue here. We can't find the space, so we have to knock down to 3. But playing the 7 balls here is brilliant. And the final consistency card we're playing here is 4 Trainer's Mail. It allows you to look at the top 4 cards of your deck, find a trainer card, put it in your hand, and maybe you find a Sycamore turn 1, or you find that Rare Candy, the Level Ball, the Ultra Ball. I really like the consistency of this deck. When you combine the Talonflame, which is about the best starter we've had in a long time, maybe ever in fact, with the 7 balls, the 7 draw supporters, and the Trainer's Mail, fitting in everything we need to fit in, I think Shay's done about as well as he can here. So, there are a few other trainer cards, let's look through them. One, Escape Rope. You need to be able to switch. You need to be able to get out the active when you can't retreat. Let's say in a mirror match your opponent uses Sand Tomb. You need to be able to get out the active. Escape Rope does that. But sometimes your opponent only has one Pokemon they want active. Let's say you need one last KO at the end of the game, and I've done this with Escape Rope, and the only Pokemon you can't KO is the one in the active. You play Escape Rope, your opponent has to switch their active, and away we go. You could switch this out for a switch if you prefer, but I'm a big fan of Escape Rope because of the two possibilities. But this could be a switch if you like. One Super Rod because, let's face it, you need to get your stuff. Why would you not? It allows you to recover both fighting energy, not usually a huge issue because of Garchomp, but you never know, and it gets you the Garchomp line back. With a Super Rod and a Gabite and 4 Rare Candy, it's not inconceivable to have 5 Garchomps in a game, 4 with Rare Candy and 1 that you've evolved up manually. Heck, you could have 6, but then you'd have to evolve 2 up manually, using a Super Rod for a Gibble, Gabite, Garchomp, which is going to be more awkward, although eminently possible. Now, the last 2 cards we haven't yet talked about are not consistency cards, but they turn this deck from a fun little rogue deck into a potential contender. Firstly, Bursting Balloon. Your opponent attacks you, they take 6 damage counters. And you know what? I'm cool with this. This is a really good card because it helps to make the maths. Now again, I went through this in more detail in my previous video, but things like I told you, you can combine this with an Aero Ball and KO a Vespiquen. Or if a Mega Ray Quasar hits into a Bursting Balloon, they go down to 160 HP. They've still got resistance, but 1 strong energy and you'll get the KO with Garchomp's second attack. It helps mitigate Fighting Fury Bout, which was a problem for this deck. It helps you hit numbers you wouldn't be able to hit otherwise. It turns it from an annoying deck that keeps not being able to hit the numbers and get KOs into a deck that will consistently get the KOs. And the last card, the final card we need to talk about, unless I've missed one, but I don't think I have, 3 copies of Silent Lab. Why are there not 4 copies of Silent Lab? Space. It's as simple as that. We need space. Silent Lab is good for a whole bunch of things. It will turn off your opponent's Unknown. It will turn off their Hooper. The main thing it's in there for is Shaman. And I suppose Hooper in some decks. It stops your opponent setting up. This deck is a very good, very powerful deck once you're going. But it can be a bit slow and a bit awkward to start streaming these stage 2s. So the ideal here is you start with Talonflame, which helps you set up. You stick Bursting Balloon down so your opponent takes extra damage. You play Silent Lab to slow down their setup. And with Talonflame aiding your setup, along with all the consistency cards, and Silent Lab slowing their setup, you can get going. And once you're going with Garchomp's second attack and Bursting Balloons, you can pretty much one-hit KO anything. Non-EXs used to be a problem, but Bursting Balloon will bring them down to somewhere in the region of 80 HP. Garchomp says hello. First attack, strong energy, 80 damage. And EXs, with a Fighting Fury Belt, it brings your average EX of a Fighting Fury Belt down from 240 to 180. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are rolling. Once again, you put 1 strong energy on and you are off. Like I've said, I'd like a second Gabite, but room is an issue. I'd like a 4th Silent Lab, but room is an issue. I'd like a 4th Level Ball. I'd like a second Lysander. All of these are cards we can't afford. But I would cut an energy for an Eco Arm. And depending on your playstyle, I would consider putting an Escape Rope out and a Switch in. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is basically what I think about this deck. I love this deck, and you can rest assured I will be playing it at least 1 League Challenge this year. Shay has turned me from a person who sits there going, oh, I wish Garchomp was good, to a person who sits there going, oh my god, I need to play this deck. Speaking of which, a huge thank you to Shay. I did get his permission before I shared this deck. It would be very rude if I didn't. So, hey Shay, assuming you're watching this, If you see anything terrible, let me know and I will correct it. The rest of you lovely ladies and gentlemen, there's a comment section, use it. There's a like button, use it. There's a subscribe button, use it. Get your friends to use it. Think of it like a party, except instead of cake, everybody just subscribes to my channel. And of course you can follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy if you are so inclined. Clearly, I would suggest you do. The most important thing as always is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross and you've been watching PTCG Radio.